And that's one thing I even tell my students is like, you have to, you have to go all in on it, and you can't just, dabble in it. I see a lot of people, they just kind of dabble. They get a little bit excited in the beginning because it's a new thing and everything like that. But then they just kind of, the motivation goes away, and then the real work starts, and they give up. And it's like, you can't rely on motivation to be successful.
So it was with intention, really. You joined the mastermind with full intention of succeeding from it. And then when you failed, you used that to almost put a chip on your shoulder. You failed and was like, well, the heck with that. I'm going to prove them wrong. I don't fail. I'm Robby Blanchard. And so was it the education in the mastermind that changed your life? Was it the people in the mastermind? Or was it just the fact alone that you invested this large sum of money and it made you accountable? $40 million. Sounds like a pretty fun number, right? Okay, so we have a guest today that I'm going to tell you, you're probably going to see us go back and forth and joust and have a good old time because we're actually friends. I know all his deepest, darkest secrets. I know where all the bodies are buried, and I'm going to bring them all out today on the podcast. No, I'm kidding. He's just a really freaking good guy. I don't know how else to explain him. We ended up connecting a few years ago, and I'm going to tell the funny story of how we connected, but just so I can connect that 40 million number back, that's what, now I haven't looked at his records and substantiated it. I'm taking his word for it, okay? But he's never lied to me before. But that's how much he says he's done in total sales between all his stuff online in the last 3 years. Wow. You know what he was doing before that? He owned a gym. I find that fascinating. I think that's interesting. So we're going to talk about all of that and how he went from a gym owner to an online business, and what are the life lessons he's learned in that. And I think today, even if you don't have an online business, even if you don't own a gym, I think you're going to get a lot out of the episode. Every time I talk to this individual, I learn something. I get inspired by something. But the first way we met officially was 2019. End of 2019. No, yeah, around there. We got connected virtually. I don't know how, somehow. We had an event coming up early 2020. It was called WebinarCon. It was literally 5 or 6 days before the big lockdown happened that we did the event. A couple months before the event, I messaged him and I said, hey, we have sponsorship opportunities at this event. Would you like to sponsor? And he was like, yes, I'm in. And I'm like, what? Don't you want to know how much? Don't you want to know details? Don't you want to know anything? He's like, nah, man, I'm in. And just today, happened to be related to a different matter. This is why I said, every time I talk to him, I learn, I get inspired, my mind expands. We were sharing voice notes on Facebook, and he said something. He's like, man, he was talking about someone else. And he's like, if this is me, I would just jump on it because, man, one thing I've learned as an entrepreneur is when you got opportunities, you got to jump on them. And I was like, whoa. It related me back to that first conversation we had. Kicked off our friendship because I found the fact that he didn't ask any questions and just jumped. I found that fascinating. In my 20 years, I don't do that. I haven't really met many people that do it. And since then, we've done a lot of business together. We've become friends. We've hung out, and it's been an honor. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to the Onyx and Gall Show, Mr. Robby Blanchard. Robby, what's up?
Onyx, what's going on, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I can see your head getting bigger and bigger as I introduced you there, man. I can physically see it. Just kidding. No, I meant every word. You are. I love working with you, and I have seen. I always talk about this one thing, Robby. Tony Robbins. I always tell this Tony Robbins story from 17 years ago. I ended up in a room somehow where I'm going to meet Tony. There's 20 of us. He gets off stage, comes to the back. It's a hotel room. He's like, we all lined up like little kids. And he's going to come shake our hands and grace us with his presence one by one. And we get to ask him one question, right? I was third in line. As he approaches me, he's standing in front of me. Tony's a big guy. He's towering over me. And he looks down he's looking at me, right? And some idiot from across the room on the other side is like, hey, Tony, what's your greatest secret to success? And I'm like, what a dumb question, dude. Shut up. And Tony's just looking at me and he laughs. And he laughs and he goes, okay, I'll answer that question. I'm like, yo, whoa. I didn't ask that stupid question. I want my one question. But he answered. He looks right at me and he goes, you want to know the secret to success? Make fast decisions. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? And he just moved on. I'm like, yo, the guy stole my question. And I thought about that for the longest time. And it wasn't until a few years later, when I actually had success under my belt. And I was, every day, right, as entrepreneurs, we get boom, 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 boom. You have so many things coming at you. And I just saw pace. And we make mistakes. We do. but like the cumulative of it is so. And anyways, so I would like to give you the credit, Robby, that since that time, I think very confident you are the fastest decision-making entrepreneur I've ever met. And I think something tells me that has a lot to do with the 40 million in 3 years and the radical success you're having. So congrats. Thanks for being on the podcast, man. I'm happy to have you here.
Yeah, glad to be here. And yeah, I mean, fast decisions I think are important for any entrepreneur because it takes me back. I first learned this, honestly, the idea of making fast decisions when back when I was a personal trainer. I worked with a client of mine who was a pretty successful entrepreneur. He was a McDonald's franchisee, so he owned over 100 McDonald's, right? And
Wow.
Italian guy, grew up in Italy, came over here, went to high school, didn't go to college, started at McDonald's flipping burgers, worked his way up to 100 McDonald's. And one of the things he always said to me, he's like, Robby, he's like, think long, think wrong. And he used to always say that to me. And that stuck with me like ever since, and that way, anytime I ever, have a decision come my way or something, like, I always say to myself, all right, think long, think wrong. And I just go for it. And
what does that mean? Think long, think
wrong.
Yeah, I
mean, like, if you think long, if you overthink stuff, like a lot of people, like, when you come to a decision.
Okay, I get it. He's saying if you think long, you're thinking wrong. That's it.
Correct.
Okay,
yep.
Got it.
Think long, think wrong. Yep, exactly. Yep. And so that was a big, that always stuck with me over the past couple of years, and so I've kind of used that with my, an entrepreneur. If I have an opportunity to, connect with someone, if it's, being a sponsor, if it's, going to an event, if it's, doing something like, I usually just jump into it and. It usually works itself out,
Well, no. Let's talk about that. That's interesting. It usually works itself out is something you say, which I think is probably your greatest strength. Now, that's not easy to say. That's not an easy thing to believe. I want to break that down a little bit, and then I want to talk about your story because it is fascinating. But it usually works itself out. Can we go one level deeper with that? Like when we recently did something together, and it didn't really pan out well. Now, of course, it was with me, so I'm going to come back and make it all right. But you didn't seem to even move. You didn't even seem to care. No temper tantrum, no upsetness, no, like you were still laughing. But then we've also done plenty of things together that I believe have done very well for you and have done well for us. When you go into a decision, is there some kind of rapid firing risk analysis that's going on? Like, how are you positioning yourself so that it usually works out is kind of like your go-to?
Yeah, great question. So pretty much I kind of ask myself, like, with any decision, whether it's business or whatever, I always ask myself the question is, if I do this, will it make my life better? If I don't do this, will it make my life better? Right. And so, those are the two kind of questions I'll ask very quickly to myself. And then usually I'll just go with my gut reaction. I'm pretty good with my gut reaction. So, if I'm presented with an opportunity or something that I'm like, in my gut, I'm like, yeah, this is good. Like, then I'll go for it. And sometimes, when I make decisions like that, does it always pan out? Is it always a home run, or is it always something that works out? No, but usually when you make those quicker decisions, like more good things will happen than not good things or no things. And for me, that's I think at the end of the day, it's all about saying, being quick with those decisions makes a bigger difference as opposed to just spending like weeks and months like hemming and hawing about something. And that's wasted time. I'm a big believer in failing fast too. Like if I'd rather, fail as quick as possible, so I know it doesn't work, and I can move on to the next thing. So that's kind of always been my thought process. With anything, when it comes to, investing, when it comes to, business deals, when it comes to anything, relationships, anything like that. That's kind of always what I go off of is trusting my gut on that. Yeah.
All right. So one level deeper, assigning a percentage. You're completely guessing out of left field. And guys, of course, this is not scientific. So disclaimer, this is going to be Robby literally pulling it out of his what. If you had to say success to fail ratio on fast decisions, you had to do a percentage, like 70-30, 60-40, because you said most of the time it's a win. What would you say that percentage is?
Yeah, good question. I would say when you're first an entrepreneur, that percentage is a lot lower, right? Because you just don't know what the heck you're doing, and you say yes to dumb things, and then you learn quicker, hopefully, right? And so now I'm at a point where I would say 70% of the things that I decide end up being very, worthwhile and stuff like that. 30% either, were kind of like net neutral, or they didn't help me at all, right? Or it was the opposite. And but the thing is, and that goes with anything, like even like investing in like coaching programs or mentorships and stuff. I've invested in some, quite a lot of stuff over the past couple of years, and there's some stuff that I invested in that was amazing, helped me grow my business and kind of expand. And then there's some stuff that was a complete dud. It didn't work out, and that's fine too. Because here's why I do that is because when I first started my online, kind of journey back in 2015, I was thinking about, figuring out how to have online business for a while. Never did anything with it. I just kind of sat on my hands. And then I was presented with the opportunity to join a mastermind in 2015. And that's when I made the decision. I said, listen, I'm just going to go all in on this, do it for 12 months. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, at least I know I tried. Right. And so that's kind of been that was kind of the fire that kind of got me going. And now I kind of just use that same type of thought process for any decision in business. But I would say right now, probably, 70% of the stuff that I do is ends up working out pretty good. And then as you get smarter and you get more experience under your belt, you can make even bigger decisions and have that fast kind of response to it.
So you mentioned 2015, you had a chance to like join a mastermind. I was just going to ask you, what would you say your biggest win fast decision has been? And what would you say your biggest lost fast decision has been? You don't have to give the details for the lost one if you don't want to, but just, generalities.
Yeah, I think honestly, the biggest win was joining that mastermind, because that's what kind of, got everything going, and got me to where I am today. Just that first like step into the online space. And so I'll never forget. I remember it was this guy. His name is Bedros Keuilian. He's a mentor of mine. He's big in the fitness space. He owns like a big franchise called Fit Body Boot Camp, and he's actually a great friend now. And I remember I used to get his emails all the time because I was a gym owner, and he trained gym owners on how to grow their businesses. And so he had an event in Costa Mesa, California, and it was in November of 2015. And it was called like the 100K info workshop or summit or something like that. And I remember it was like $1,000 to go to it. And I remember thinking three things when I got that email. I remember the first thing I thought was, oh my God, $1,000, that's a lot of money. Number two is like, oh man, I have to fly from Boston to California all by myself. I'm not going to know anybody there. And then the third thing I thought was, oh my God, I sound like my dad. And I immediately booked the ticket. And
there you go.
Yeah. Right. And I love my dad, but he's a very, he was a high school principal for 45 years. I mean, same school, same job, same routine, 45, what I mean? Like, and for me, I can't do that. I have to do other stuff. And so that really kind of made me think. And so that's when I went to the event, and it was like, that was a fast decision. Like I booked it, booked the ticket, everything. Then there was another email saying, hey, there's another 1 day mastermind at this 2-day event. Do you want to join it? And so I'm like, well, I'm going to be out there. I might as well join it. And then when I got to the event was when they, obviously it's an event where they sell you on a mastermind. And that's when I made that decision, right then and there to join. And it wasn't cheap for me at the time. As a matter of fact, it was very, very expensive for me to, at that point, being a gym owner. But I was like, you know what, I just need to go all in on this. I've been thinking about wanting to be successful online for a while. I just don't know how to do it. And I need to find somebody that does know how to do it. And so I went all in on it, and the rest is history. And I'm so glad I did.
So cool, man. What a cool story. And I want to ask more about that mastermind and that part, but I kind of chuckled at your thing of like, I thought what my dad would do, and I did the opposite. Love my dad. Everyone who knows me knows he's my hero. He's the motivation, inspiration behind all my success, but also I'm very different than him. And we think different, we act different. And my dad, we have a joke. I give him anxiety. Like my existence gives my father, like, I'm always doing stuff that he's just like, but he's an engineer. He's a master's in nuclear engineering. His literal job was to oversee nuclear power plants, make sure they don't blow up. So, the repercussion of him not doing everything perfect was kind of catastrophic. So, I get that. Now, in the industry, Robby, because you have this very laissez-faire way of kind of like, and then I just made that decision. It's not like, is that trained, or were you always like that? Because in the industry, people that do know you, we talk about you behind your back, and one of the things that we say about you is he is one of the chillest guys you'll ever meet. You're just chill, like you're just like that guy, right? Like I feel like you're the guy, like if your friend's having a bad day, it's like call Robby, because Robbie's just going to show up and be like, life's good, dude. It's all good. Like you'll be fine. Were you always like that as a kid? Is this something you've trained yourself as entrepreneurship beat that into you, out of you? Like psychoanalyze yourself a little.
It's a good question. I think I've always been this way. I've never, I kind of take after my grandfather. To be honest with you, my grandfather was very much like, he was in engineering himself. And like, he was a guy that like, you'd ask him a question and he would think for a while before he even like would answer. And like, you could just see his mind going like, and so I'm very much like that. And so, anytime, like, I'm not a very reactive person. I'm not like someone that, freaks out. I'm not very emotional in that sort of sense. But anytime like something, happens, happens in my life, whether it's a business thing or something, like, outwardly I'm calm, cool, and collected, because I think you have, as a leader, you need to be that way for your team. You can't be like, going off the hinges and going crazy, because then, everyone else sees that. But internally, I'm always, I process everything, like in terms of like, being very solution based, being like, okay, like here's a problem in front of me. There's got to be a solution to it, and how do I figure it out? And so, that's one thing I've always, kind of been. And then, the other thing too, I also grew up with like a kind of like a chip on my shoulder a lot. And so, that was also a big driver for me. That's kind of probably why I'm so motivated to get to where I am. I remember there was times like growing up as a kid where, we lived, a middle-class family. I played basketball growing up, and it's like, if you wanted to, I wanted like the new Jordans and everything like that. And instead we'd go to Walmart and we'd buy the Spaldings that made my feet hurt. And so those are the kind of things that like would happen. Like, going on vacation, we only went like 1 week in the summer. We'd drive up to Maine to visit my great aunt and uncle. And they lived in like this like field, and there was like literally nothing to do. And that was our vacation every year for like 15 years. And so those are things for me where I'm like, man, like when I grow up, like I want to be able to do more than this. Like I want to be able to, take things to the next level. And then, but yeah, as far as like being, kind of calm, cool, and collective, I put everything in perspective. Right? I think that, at the end of the day, like, I'm so fortunate and blessed. Like if you were to ask me, years ago that I'd be where I am today, like I wouldn't even know what you're talking about. I would have, it wouldn't make any sense to me, and the fact that I've been able to get to where I am, to me, that's just like, I'm so grateful for that. And so if something happens, or if there's an issue, or, an inconvenience happens in my life or in business, like it's not a big deal. Like, because like I'm in a position where it's so cool to have inconveniences like that. Right. Like, as opposed to,
that was a quote worth repeating, guys. Do you hear that? He said, I'm in a position where it's kind of cool to have inconveniences like that. I had a friend of mine who sent me a voice note yesterday. Robby, you and I both know him, and he was really having a rough day, bad day, really, really bad day. He's having a bad few months. He's having a really hard time getting his loan closed on his $9 million condo. And I'm like, I wrote back, I'm like, dude, what do you want me to do? Have sympathy for you here? Like, this is not a problem. All right, I'll show you problems. This is not a problem. But you're right. Like, hey, you know what? I'd rather have that problem than not knowing where money for food is coming next month for my family. Like,
for sure. And one thing I like to do too is like, I mean, if you ever feel like you're having a bad, like if you're in a position where I am, or you're in, or anyone, like, if you ever feel like you're having a bad day, like, go and find someone that is, that is homeless on the street, and give them some money, or do something nice for somebody else. Like, just, I think for me, I like to do stuff like that, because it, puts stuff in perspective, where it's like, oh man, yeah, I had a bad day, but man, like, at least I have, this, and at least I can, I can bounce back, and I come back even stronger, and I have the skill set to do whatever I want to do. And so I think you got to put things into perspective. And I think that, it's easy to get out of touch sometimes. But I'm a big believer, like you have to stay humble, and you just have to realize that the people you pass on the way up are the same people you're going to pass on the way down. And you have to just, always be good to people, and do good and forget about it, I think
it's a great perspective, and I love that. And I have not always had that. I've been trying to work on it. Recently, I was walking into an ice cream place. I don't really like eating ice cream. I'm lactose free, but my wife loves ice cream at this place, and I like to win points with her. So I was nearby, so I was like, I'm going to walk in. Held the door open for a mom and a daughter. And common courtesy is to, like, I don't know, say thank you. And they walked right in like I was the doorman. And if anything, kind of had a scuff to them a little bit. And so it got under my skin. I don't know why. I was having a moody day already, and this was just one of those where I would possibly have had the side of me comes out that would have said you're welcome, right, with an attitude. And instead I just smiled, and I decided, I was like, we're going to do something different here. We're going to approach this whole scenario very differently. And so actually they came in, they were like being indecisive, so I ended up getting in front of them. I bought what I bought, and I'm about to pay, and they're coming through with their ice cream. And I just looked at the cashier and I was like, I'd like to pay for their ice cream. And you should have seen, they were like, the mom's like, what? And I was like, oh, no, would just like to pay for your ice cream. Nothing else. And she's just like bright and like big smile and was like, oh my God, thank you so much. And her daughter's like, oh, that's so sweet of you. Thank you so much. And like the whole time I processed the fact that they were just like in a different place. Like they walked in, they weren't being rude. I think there was something going on. They were like, because he literally saw them snap out of it and were like, oh my God, thank you. And I just said to myself, that was like $4 or $5. I was like, I just saved myself like 6 hours of bitterness over that one incident by just like paying $5 for their ice cream and turning the whole situation around. It was like this cool perspective. And I know people are like, well, you have money, you can do stuff like that. It's $5, guys. It was literally $5 for the ice cream. Robby, you joined a mastermind to change your life. I find that interesting because a lot of people join a lot of masterminds and don't change their life. Obviously, a mastermind cannot change your life. Something you did with it changed your life. Talk us through that. You made the decision, you made this big investment. How did you utilize it? Because I think people need to learn. How many of us are buying books, buying courses, buying masterminds? How many of your own students are buying your stuff? I know my students, their lives aren't changing. And then we get blamed sometimes for that. But I don't know. What'd you do with it? Why is it that mastermind changed your life while I bet you 70% of the other people or more that joined alongside of you that year didn't change their life?
Oh, absolutely. It's probably more than that. It was probably in less than a year they gave up. Because
Yeah.
I mean, back then this is like we're talking like because masterminds are very different now. But like you get more stuff, you have more interaction. Like the mastermind I joined, it was you get 3 events a year, and you got 1 call a month, and that was it. Like wow. And so so when I went into it, I had I kind of once again had that chip on my shoulder, and one of the things that was interesting to me was, when they structured the mastermind, they basically had 2 groups. It was group A, which are more, the more advanced people. And then there was group B. Well, I got put into group B. And so I'm like, man, well, that sucks. I don't want to be in group B. I want to be in group A because I just want to be. And so it was one of those like chip on the shoulder things where I'm like, all right, I got to prove myself and show people that, not only do I belong in A, but I want to be at the point where I could teach everybody in A, so, and so for me, that was the big thing. And I knew that like, if I wanted to put the effort in, like I had to, if I want to be successful, it was all up to me. Right. I think that, if you are successful in life, it's your fault. If you fail in life, it's your fault too. And I think that, I really kind of cling to that. And that was one thing that really made a big difference for me was like, just going all in, finding, problems to solutions, figuring it out. Like, and I had to, because, when I first joined the mastermind, the whole thing was about creating an online product on ClickBank was the thing. And so I created my product, which was kind of a CrossFit focused product. It was an information product. And I went to everybody in the mastermind to have them try to promote it to their email list, because email, was kind of what the focus of the mastermind was. And nobody would promote it. Everybody said, no, like, I'm not going to promote it. It's not weight loss focused and blah, blah, blah. And so I spent all this time creating this awesome product, thinking it was going to just, crush and nobody wanted to promote it. And so to me, that was like, once again, almost like a chip in the shoulder kind of thing. Like, all right, I'm going to figure this out and so that's when I got into paid advertising and learned Facebook ads and got sales for that product. And then everything came full circle, because those same people that said no to me were then coming to me asking me how I'm making money running, ads on Facebook for affiliate products, and can I promote their product on Facebook? So it comes down to like, you have to go all in on it, and you have to just put the work in. That's one thing I even tell like my students is like, you have to you have to go all in on it, and you can't just dabble in it. I see a lot of people, they just kind of dabble. They get a little bit excited in the beginning because it's a new thing and everything like that, but then they just kind of, the motivation goes away, and then the real work starts, and they give up. And it's like, you can't rely on motivation to be successful. Like, you have to rely on just that hunger, right? You have to be like that, like I love the expression, like the Rock, like he always talks about how the wolf is always scratching on the door, and I love that because like you have to stay hungry. Like someone out there is always looking to do better than you and to beat you, and you have to like have that chip on your shoulder to prove yourself and prove to everybody that you can be successful, and so that's kind of how I've always approached it.
So it was with intention, really. You joined the mastermind with full intention of succeeding from it, and then when you failed, you used that to almost put a chip on your shoulder. You failed and was like, well, the heck with that, I'm going to prove them wrong. I don't fail, I'm Robby Blanchard. And you just use, so people will sometimes say like, don't, like I have this funny thing where people are like, don't be arrogant, don't be overconfident or whatever. I'm like, well, I don't know, a little bit can help. Not so much to be rude to people, but that inner talk where you're like, hey, no, that's not me. I don't go down like this. Like this isn't how I'm going. This isn't the end of my story. And so a lot of that was what drove you, and you just kept iterating. You kept trying, you kept trying, you kept trying. And so was it the education in the mastermind that changed your life? Was it the people in the mastermind? Or was it just the fact alone that you invested this large sum of money and it made you accountable?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a couple things. I think the investing the money is something that I think was motivating, but I don't think it's not the secret sauce to becoming successful, because people will spend money on things like masterminds and then do nothing with it. And but for me, the biggest motivator was seeing other people in the group, like in terms of what they were earning, in terms of what they were doing, and that's what lit the fire. It wasn't even like teaching me stuff. It was like, wow, like this person, like, oh my gosh, like they're doing $1 million in a year, or they just did like they're doing a launch and they did, X amount of dollars, like, holy cow, like, and they're just like me. They're the same age as me. What I mean? So that it was just like opening my eyes to all these different things that really showed me what was possible. Which even kind of brought me back to when I was a personal trainer, because when I was a personal trainer, I remember, I did in-home personal training. So I go to people's houses and train them. And I would be in these crazy big houses. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what are these people doing? Like, as I pull up in like my 1993 baby blue Buick station wagon, with like the oil leaking out of it, and the clients getting pissed because it's getting on their driveway. But, but that opened my eyes. Cause I'm like, oh my gosh, like these guys are all making tons of money. They're spending more money on like silly things than I make all year. And so for me, it was always like just opening up that possibility. Like I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I just knew I was going to get there. Right. And so I think it's important. Like as an entrepreneur, like you're not going to know every step along the way that helps you get to where you want to go. Like, but you have to keep stepping forward. And then at one point in time, when you stop and you look back, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I can see the path that I took. Like, but going forward, you're not going to see that initially. And so, but the thing is, you have to open yourself up to it and be like, yeah, I am going to make this happen. I am going to hit this goal. And then everything kind of works itself out once you, kind of make that, that initiative. Yeah.
So Robby, did you actually buy a blue Buick station wagon, or was it given it to you? Because I got a little judgment coming down, my friend. You got to answer that. I want to know more about this blue station wagon.
This is a great story. Yeah. So when I was getting ready to go to college, I remember, the decision was whether I was going to commute to college or I was going to go to a school and stay in the dorms and stuff like that. And so I remember my dad and my parents said to me, hey, Robby, like if you commute to school, we will buy you a new car. And so for me, I'm like, wow, this is great. Like I want a new car. This would be awesome. And so we started looking at so I decided to commute. Right. And so we started looking for cars, and we were looking at like Ford Tauruses and some other 10, 12 grand, at the time. And I remember my mom and being like, oh no, that's too expensive. That's too expensive. And then we looked at another car, like there was a big Ford Bronco, like an old Bronco from like the 80s. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. It was like $5 grand. My dad was going to get it. And my mom's like, nope, too expensive. Oh. And then
mom's killing us, man. Mom's killing us here.
So then that same day we were going to buy the Bronco, my grandfather called and said, hey, I'm thinking about buying a new car, and I want to give Robby my car. And so that was the baby blue Buick station wagon. And it's one of those ones where like the speedometer goes across, like it's like goes up to 85 is the max. And like blue interior, everything like that. Like, and it's one of those cars where like you're like, man, maybe I put some rims on it, or if I put like you're trying to make it cool, but it's just not cool.
No,
It's like trying to dress up a piece of poop. Like it just doesn't work. It's just not cool no matter what you do.
Do you have a picture you can send us? Maybe we can edit it into the episode.
I'll have to send you one. Yeah, for sure.
That is epic. I
had that car. I had that car from my senior year in high school all the way through college, actually. And I don't know if it was a coincidence or not, but during that same time, I didn't have a girlfriend.
I was just gonna ask you, were you able to have a girlfriend? It might be connected.
And I'll tell you, I was so mad at my dad, my parents. Like I didn't talk to them for like a week because I'm like, man, here I am saying like I'm gonna save money, commute to college, and
bro, you're gonna get a Ford Bronco. Come on. I know. All right. Moment of redemption. What do you drive now?
Well, I got a couple cars. So I have I have a new Corvette. I have a C8 Corvette, and then which is actually blue, rapid blue, and but way cooler blue than the other one. And then I have actually just have a Jeep Gladiator. I have a Jeep down here in Florida. It's like, Jeeps are like the thing to have, and you got to do the Jeep wave and everything like that. So I have a Jeep, and but that's one thing for me. Like I've had BMWs in the past and stuff, but it's funny when you first start out and you're starting to make more money and stuff, like you're always like, oh man, if I can get this really cool car, blah, blah. And then you start to make the money and be successful. And you're like, like I just kind of like my Jeep. Like I don't, why would I don't want to buy a Ferrari that's $500,000. Like I'll get my Corvette for way less than that and still have just as much, so, but regardless, it's way better than the station wagon. That's for sure.
It is so true. Well, you got your man card back, so I'll give you that back. That's another conversation we're going to talk about. I'm going to write it down here. Okay. We're going to talk about how boring success is. Because that's an interesting conversation to have where it's like you want everything until you can actually get it. And then you're like, nah, I don't care. The good news is you do have a girlfriend now. I happen to know that for a fact. We've talked about it a few times. So the moral of the story, gentlemen, if you're watching, is your car and what you drive is directly correlated to whether you're in a relationship or not. So do not drive a blue Buick station wagon. Okay, so the best, fastest decision you ever made literally changed your life, could be single-handedly responsible for the 40 or so million in online sales you went on to make and have made to date. And we're going to get into this maybe later, but I mean, you own real estate now, you're an investor, you've got an NFT project, or you've got crypto. So all of that may not exist today had you not made that one fast decision to join the mastermind. Now, worst decision you ever made, other than the Buick station wagon, which I'm going to come back. Dude, I'm going to come back to that a lot. That's just going to be my thing with you now. I love it. That's my favorite part of the story. Not like I drove a cooler car, dude. In high school, I got a Subaru Legacy. It was a gray 1982 whatever Subaru Legacy. The damn thing broke down all the time. But no, not a Subaru Legacy. It was a Subaru Loyale. Subaru Loyale. Yes, man. And then I got the 1991 Honda Accord, which I did pimp out. And my dad hated it. And then after that, when I graduated, I wasn't quite yet ready. I wanted to buy a Range Rover, and my father was so awesome. He wanted to buy a new car, and I wasn't quite ready to buy a car, so he bought an Acura TSX, gave it to me for the first year. And then I upgraded to Range Rover. And so, it's not like I've had, I make fun, but it's like I drove the Subaru. Your worst decision, what was your losses?
Man, worst decision?
Pick one. Bad decision. There's a point I'm trying to make here, and I think you'll catch on to it very quick. It's like bad decision, invested X amount, lost it all or whatever, or more.
Yeah, so I would say currently a bad decision. It's, I would say ongoing, and we'll see how the market turns around. But is one of bad decision. Yeah, it's an ongoing bad decision, not by my choice, but would be with crypto, right? So with crypto, in 2021, I have a couple of Bored Apes, and so I'm big into, I love NFTs and I still have them and stuff, and I hold them long term. But with Bored Ape, what they did is they released a token, which was basically a coin currency, and you get so much for every Bored Ape and mutant ape that you hold. And so at one point in time, and they basically dropped it for free for you. And so at the time, this is just early last year, it was worth just free. It gave to me. It was worth over $700,000 is what it was worth.
Wow.
And I said, you know what? Like, I'm gonna hold on to it for a while. Like, I think it's like it's gonna keep going up. And I'm not a trader. I don't like, buy and sell. Like, I'm a holder, right? I on everything, real estate, everything. So, and so I'm like, well, I'm gonna hold on to it. So anyways, it's currently at it's probably currently worth maybe $100,000 now, and so that is, that was a bad decision to not sell. And it was merely because of just, ignorance. I didn't I'm fairly new to like the whole, going in crypto type of stuff. And, especially at that type of a level. And so I'm like, man, if I had just, exited out of there at the peak or around where my gut was telling me I probably should have done it. I could have reinvested back into it, have way more, reinvested back at the bottom and then ride it back up to the top, because eventually it's going to go back up, especially with this particular one. And so, for me, it was a good decision. That was other stuff too. That was like, even like, with other cryptocurrencies, that I probably could have, if I wanted to, I could have exited more towards the top and then buy back in at the low. And that would have been a better decision to do. That was one thing.
So pause real quick though. If you're not, if you're okay to share something, I mean, that was free money, technically. How much did you invest into the Bored Ape projects? I don't even know. I mean, like, and are they still worth something? I guess the point I'm trying to make is like, are you actually in the negative, or technically are you still like okay?
I'm still okay. I mean, overall on like NFT projects that I've invested in, I'm down for sure. I think because the price of Ethereum has gone down when I first invested, but I would say probably like with everything, I probably put in maybe over 150,000 into NFTs, those Bored Apes and stuff when I first bought in. At the peak, like one Bored Ape was worth like $500,000. And now they're probably worth like maybe 150, so I'm kind of still doing okay, but not as much as I probably could have. And once again, it was one of those things where it's like, when people are saying buy, like that's when you should probably be selling. And then when people are saying sell, that's when you probably should be buying.
But you're down from the highs. You're not necessarily down from your investment amount. Or are you down?
Yeah, no. I'm still, I'm down a little bit from my investment amount, but not enough.
So we're talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands from the investment amount? Couple. Okay, so there's a dichotomy I'm trying to set up here, right, for everybody, which, again, I kind of should have done this disclaimer before, but everyone, please don't go out and be reckless with your decision-making. I know that this is all about making fast decisions, but remember, I mean, Robby spoke about it early on when he didn't really have the experience he has now. He had a ratio was flipped. I mean, he was making more bad decisions than good. So we're still calculated. I make pretty fast decisions too. I'm not sure I'm as fast as Robby, but I'm pretty fast. But during that time, like I'm making, there's Excels going on in my head. Like I am calculating like the risk ratio, right? So that's kind of what Robby said earlier, where he was like, hey, I make a decision. Like I say, hey, if I do this, will it help my life? Or like hurt? Or if I don't do this, will it help or hurt my life? And it's like a simple decision-making philosophy. But we're not, if I ask Robby tomorrow, he makes fast decisions. But if I ask Robby tomorrow, hey, give me $10 million, I'll give you 20 in a year. Like he's probably not going to do it because that could be a huge risk. So I want everyone to think what's 10 million to Robby could be less to you. Just be careful. Don't just we say fast decisions. We don't say reckless decisions. There's a big difference between the two. But the dichotomy I was trying to make is a good fast decision Robby made went on to change his life and will have literally an infinite return, because every year that goes by, every penny he makes can be connected to that fast decision. The bad decision he made is going to cost him possibly a couple $100,000. And so if you set up, right, I have found that when I make decisions, I try to make decisions that have, like, if I'm going to have losses, my losses are capped. But if I'm going to have gains, they could be like huge. And in that scenario, if you can learn to make good decisions and calculated decisions, you actually, statistically speaking, it's in your favor because your losses are capped, but your gains are not. And so I feel like if I buy an investment that's $100,000, this is why I'm not a fan of like shorts and options and stuff. This scares the crap out of me because your losses could also, something could tank, your losses could be uncapped. But, if you buy something for $20,000, you could lose all of it, but you'll lose $20,000. It's capped. versus it could go, like if you calculatedly think like, hey, it could go up to you, that could go up to 200. So kind of giving some people a look into our thought process. I was watching this one Indian TV show. It's about entrepreneurs. It's called TVF Pitchers. And really interesting. This guy, he's the CEO of the company, and he's known since college to make, like, he goes into a quiet room. I forgot what they call it. They call it the jury room. Like whenever he wants to make a big decision. And people are wondering, like, what the hell does he do in that room? Because he'll make big decisions in the room. Like he'll come out, he goes in completely like perplexed, big decision, comes out, knows what to do. So one time they like sneak the door open, they're looking, they see what he's doing. And what he does is he flips a coin. So he literally has to say yes or no. He flips a coin, and they're super pissed. They're like, how dare you flip a coin? To like, because it was like a decision for their life. It was like whether they're going to raise money or not for their startup or something. And they're like, and he says something so fascinating. He says, guys, I made my decision before I even see what the coin is. He goes, in that flip, if you pay attention to your deep inside, there is something you're wishing for. So when you hit heads or tails, before you uncover it, you're like, you know what you really want to have happen, right? That's like when we play like paper, rock, scissors and you don't get your answer. You're like, all right, best of 3. All right, best of 5. Like, you know what you want. You're trying to create a justification for it. So he's like, I don't even look heads or tails. I just flip a coin and I try to tap into that subconscious voice that tells me what I really want. And that's how I make a decision. And I was like, holy crap, that's pretty profound from like a web TV series made by a bunch of kids. Like, profound life lesson. Okay, so let's talk about, I'm going to get a little bit into, in by 5-10 minutes, I want to talk about the things you do, the 40 million online in sales. I'm sure people are like, dude, how does he make 40 million online? Get into that. But can we talk a little bit of how boring success can be? A lot of people don't follow. I swear this is one of those things that people don't get unless you're there. You guys have no idea how badly I wanted a Lamborghini. I really wanted a Ferrari. I wanted a Lamborghini. And I could buy one right now. I could leave this episode halfway and just drive to the dealership. It's 45 minutes away. And just pay cash and walk out. And I have zero desire to do it. Like, I just don't want to. Funniest story about cars. So I have Audi R8, which I love to death, which I rebought. I had one, got rid of it, and missed it, bought it again. I have a Range Rover, which is basically my child. Range Rover is second only to my actual child. And my wife has a Tesla S, and she loves her Tesla. But she wanted a new Tesla. So my Tesla S is supposed to go to my dad, and I bought her the Tesla X. And I kept trying to tell her, I was like, how boring. Like, look at this thing. It looks like an egg. I do love electric cars. I'm a convert on that one, but I was like, Tesla, like the X looks like an egg. Who cares? What do you want? It's okay. You're a car. Here's a challenge. It's got the new steering wheel, and it is a weird car to drive. I have never rimmed a car in my life. I've never curbed a car in my life. I curbed that X within the first hour of owning it. It turns weird. It turned strangely. It was super embarrassing. I was really pissed off. I spent like $100,000+ on the car, and like literally an hour in, I'm curbing it. So my wife has been nervous, and we just had a baby. We have had zero time for my wife. She wants me to take her out and get her comfortable driving the X. Take her out for a drive and stuff, like teach her a few things. It's weird. There's no turn signals. There's no gearbox. Literally, if you want to go drive, you have to there's a little car icon and you push it up. True story. We're at the parking lot of the Tesla dealer. They're like, here's your car. Bye-bye. We're like, okay. Do you know I had to go to YouTube to figure out how to put the car in drive? I'm sitting there like, what do we do? There's no so she's petrified of the car. She wants it to be, it's been months now and we haven't had a chance to take it out. Guess who loves driving the car? It's become one of my favorite cars. It's so freaking convenient. It's so comfortable. It's just like the car thinks for me. And she laughs. She's like, you can keep it. Like, my poor dad, he's like got the charger put in his garage. He's like waiting for his red Tesla S to come home and she's not let it go yet.
That's awesome.
Isn't it weird thinking? We think like, I love it. And I'm not embarrassed. Like, I don't care. I'll drive that egg all day long. It's comfortable. So talk about that. When did that happen for you? At what point? What were some of the biggest desires you had, and why do you think that shift happened? When did it happen for you?
Yeah, good question. So for me, like, growing up, as I mentioned, like, I would get, we shop at Walmart, and we would, have, I was told no a lot as a kid, right? Like, no, we can't have this, we can't afford this, you can't get this, So for me, it was always like, as I got older, it was like, all right, well, I need to have these things because I couldn't have these as a kid, right? So whether it's clothes or shoes or whatever. And but then when you get to the point where you have them, you're like, I feel exactly the same. I don't feel any different. And same thing with cars. I've had nice cars, but once again, I kind of like, I just kind of like my Jeep truck. I just like to just drive that around. And for me, like, I'd rather have other experiences, or other stuff. Like, I love to play golf. So for me, it's like being able to, have that freedom to play more golf and to do those sort of things. Or that to me, that's more, more worthwhile. But yeah, I definitely agree. Like, as far as like the boring stuff, when it comes to being successful, like, and I think that's the other thing too that people don't realize as entrepreneurs, or trying to be entrepreneurs, is like, they're always looking for like the exciting thing, right? The next exciting thing. It's like, and if it's not exciting anymore, well, it must not be the thing I need to do. I need to do something more exciting. And it's like, for me, and I've done things differently than most people do in my space, where, like, my program has essentially been the same program for the last 4 years, and we update and stuff, but I'm not jumping from to the next exciting thing. Like, it's consistently always the same setup. And yeah, is it boring? Like, am I always like, pumped to talk about, affiliate marketing? Not always, but you do it because it works. You do it because it helps people have success. And for me, that's well worth it. And I think, doing the boring work is really, really important and powerful. And that's how empires are built, like, by doing that boring work,
I was I always teach this to our board of experts mastermind members, a mastermind of which you are a part of, and never show up. I'm just throwing that out there. Because if can we get that 2015 Robby to? You got to come to one of these events, man. I'm telling you, they're awesome. So there you go. I publicly called out Robby, everybody. But to be fair, he's always in the middle of doing something like big launch or something, so I don't blame him. But I always teach at these masterminds, and I've been teaching at the expert summits that we host, that creativity launches businesses, boredom scales them. And that was one of the biggest things I learned when we started scaling. I had to get out of my business's way. I was the most destructive force as an entrepreneur. And that's why I'm actually not a very good CEO. I'm actually a really bad CEO, and I look forward to firing myself any day now. But because I'm always reckless, because I'm always doing stuff, because I want creativity. I enjoy their tornado phase. I don't enjoy the cleanup phase. I don't enjoy the building the roads again. I enjoy paving my path through the city and giving the opportunity for the team to build the road. But a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't realize that what scales a business is actually systems and processes and boredom. You do the same thing that works again and again and again. I just got out of a meeting with one of our students who's making X amount per month, and they want to make Y. And their first solution was launching this completely new type of business. And I'm just looking at them and I'm like, why do you want to do that? They're like, well, I want to make more. I'm like, yeah, but look at the growth rate you've already had in this existing business. Like, they're like, oh, well, what do I do with that then? And I'm like, just do more of that. I mean, it's so funny. And I'm sitting there and you can see them go, oh, and I'm like, really? Like, that's it? That's our big takeaway? Like, our one-on-one consult? That was my big reveal to you. But it's like, yeah, just do more. Stop complicating things. Just do more. Boring brings success. Boring scales businesses. Boring is systems. And a lot of times there's a new trend happening, Robby. I don't know if you're going to be a part of that trend. A lot of entrepreneurs are firing themselves as CEOs in our space, and like I'm personally looking forward to it. I'll go off and be a CEO of something different until it needs more of an operational process, and then fire myself and go off somewhere else. Do you ever see yourself doing that? Do you see yourself as more of an entrepreneur or CEO?
Definitely more of an entrepreneur, for sure. I think that, as far as being like a CEO, see, I never even like, I'm like one of those weird guys where, if someone says like, are you a CEO? It's like, I don't know. I'm just Robby. Like, I don't need a title, you know?
I'm Chief Robby Officer.
Yeah, you're right. Chief Robby Officer. Exactly. And, but yeah, I definitely think at some point, in my business, we have a lot of people that are, have stepped up to the plate that are, do a lot of the operational stuff. And so, I'm more of the pretty face of the business now than anything else. And, which is, isn't saying much, but, but even then, like down the line, now the goal is to get more people that are those pretty faces of the business as opposed to just me. And so I think that's important because you can only get so far by yourself, and you need to have a team that can push you over the edge and get you past. And then once you get that team, then you got to get out of the way and let them do what they got to do. And I also think too, there's one thing I like, Grant Cardone talked about too recently, where he just said like he doesn't want to be the only star in the sky. Like he wants to have multiple stars in his sky, and I think that's really powerful too to have that. So yeah, I can definitely see myself more of as an entrepreneur, where I love the big idea stuff. I love the creativity side of things. The execution, like the dirty work, day-to-day stuff is not always my favorite thing to do, but certainly the bigger picture, kind of things is
it's very cyclical. I researched it and found that a lot, it's a very common thing for very successful entrepreneurs to go through about 10 to 20 years of the grunt. And then they become investors. This is what the really successful ones do. And I see both you and I are actually doing that. You buy real estate, I buy real estate. Technically, we're becoming investors. I can tell you how many times I've talked to some people that were very successful in their time, and I'm trying to get them out of retirement and bring them in, and they'll say, hey man, love what you're doing, super passionate about it, would love to support you, not looking for an operational role again in my life. And I'm like, I get it. Yeah, like you did that, you paid the dues, it was the hard work. And I've seen it again and again in big entrepreneurs that go on to have a lot of success. They have about 15, 20 years that they put in of maybe a little bit more of like real hard grunt work, day-to-day execution, and then they just kind of, whether they fire themselves, they sell their company or whatever happens, and they kind of move into a different role where they don't have that day-to-day like execution decision making. It's something that speaks volumes to me. It doesn't speak volumes to everybody, but it's an exciting thing. All right, listen, you spoke about creating stars. And I feel like that's a big part of your mission. You've helped quite a few students out there. The next part of the discussion, I want to just let everybody know we're going to talk about what Robby teaches and what he does to generate all this stuff online and the 40 million on online sales. And of course, I always have to remind everybody, with every business, there's always innate risk, and everything you should do carefully and be wise. And just because Robby's done 40 million by no means you will, probably means you won't. Robby's had access to wealth and knowledge and information and people that you may or may not. And so I just want to be careful, everybody. Do and apply what is told to you with a lot of caution and do it in a safe environment. But having said that, you have. I mean, I'm in your Facebook group. I see it. I see a lot of posts of people posting success. I actually know someone. It's really funny. She's in the building. She works at a company in the building down the hall, Robby. She used to work for me. And then she left and went down the hall and worked for another company, and she's your student. And one of her biggest successes, I probably saw her post, was being one of your students. So you're creating stars. You've generated 40 million. Tell me a little bit about that. How have you created the 40 million? I know that soon you have a launch even coming up where you're teaching people how you do what you do. So what is it? How did you create your 40 million in sales? And everyone, that's sales, not profit. It's sales. How did you create that sales? And what is it that you teach people to create those stars?
Yeah, so it really boiled down to just teaching affiliate marketing, but which has been around forever. And affiliate marketing is simply recommending other products, whether it's online or offline, and receiving a commission for doing that. And so that's kind of how I got started. Back when I joined the mastermind, I created my own product. Nobody wanted to promote it, so I ran the ads for that product, got sales on Facebook, and then I started to promote other people's products on Facebook, and then and that's when things took off. It got to the point where I was doing, 5 figures, six figures a month, and then went on from there. And so,
as an affiliate, 6 figures a month, like potential, right?
Yeah, exactly. And since then I've, on ClickBank, for example, the last 3 years alone, I've reached ClickBank Diamond, which means, you have to do over $5 million in sales, on ClickBank in order to get the actual award from ClickBank. So they actually verify this. Yes, you get those sales before you get the award, and I've got that 3 years in a row. So yeah, so really it's, affiliate marketing has been what I teach, and more specifically using paid traffic to drive sales for these affiliate offers. To me, I love it. I think it's like in my opinion, it's the purest like online business, because everyone talks about like having that laptop on a beach and you're sipping on your coconut drink or whatever, and then when you try to start an online business or other models, like you're like, oh my gosh, like this is like work and this is crazy. And affiliate marketing is absolutely work too, don't get me wrong, but there is something special about like being able to run ads, and it takes you a little bit of time during the day each day to set them up, and then just let the ads run, and you can be sleeping, you can be at the restaurant, you can be golfing, and that money can be coming into your account. And so that's what we teach. And yeah, and then because it works so well, that we've had a lot of people be successful. We've had crazy stories of people that had success. A lot of the stories, I mean, I'm not even going to share some of the stories because they seem so like crazy and unbelievable, but they're real. and that to me is awesome, because yeah.
No, and important to note, those are I bet those are the people that like are the 2015 Robby. They came in and they're like, move aside, right? They put the work in, and I guarantee the success stories had failures. I guarantee they're having failures all the time. You're not talking about them. They power through them. And then there's a bunch of people that probably take your training that never take it. They buy your training and never take it, right? And I'm sure there's students who also buy your training, take it, try it, doesn't work first couple times, and they stop. And so they would say that they failed, but I just say they didn't try long enough. And I think that's what you would say. Really, so I want to give people a visual, and then everyone here, let me drop a URL. So Robby and I are doing a really awesome training for Learn Nation on his strategy. We're going to get into the mechanics of exactly how it works. I don't want to get into that in the podcast today, because I wanted the podcast to really be about Robby. I wanted you to learn about Robby, but you can go to learn.com/Robby, ROBBY, and you can sign up for the free training we're doing now. If it's already happened, there'll be a replay up for it, so you can go see that. But and then Robby's also going to give you a URL in a minute where you can go to, if you just want to skip ahead and go straight to the meat, like where actually Robby's got his own training, then he's got his own programs you can get into. Just so you know, Learn doesn't make any money on them. I have no connection to him, and there's no monetization here. It's just I love Robby, and he teaches good stuff, and you're welcome to join his community. My funny thing, Robby, I don't know if you know this about me, but some of the first big money I made was back in when Google AdWords was just getting started. This ages me. All right. This is Google AdWords was being invented. And you could literally go to ClickBank. You can get your affiliate link for like the PlayStation cheat guides and World of Warcraft. I was known as the WoW King, the World of Warcraft King. I was actually in the community known. People would reference me and talk about me, and have never even logged into World of Warcraft. I've never played. Scout's honor. But I built a big brand all doing this. And take the affiliate link, go to Google, make an ad. The link would be your affiliate link. That's it. Start the ad. And it was like, pay $1, make $2. Pay $1, make $2. It was like arbitrage. It was the easiest money I'd made. It got to a point, I was still living at my parents' house. I remember I was out of college, so I was doing some other stuff too. This was the easiest money I'd made. It was silly. I just launch I would just keep launching ads. I'd just keep launching different products. So many would fail, by the way. Many would fail. Most would fail. The few successes would make big money. And I think I got it up to a point of making like, I don't remember, right? So no one quote me on this, but it was like 25, 30 grand a month. And I remember waking up one morning and roll over in bed. And the first thing we do, right? Because it was like, you have your phone. I had a BlackBerry. I would check ClickBank on BlackBerry. It was take forever, and it was like all chopped up and weird. And I look, and it was like, I saw like, usually I would wake up and I'd see, a couple thousand in commissions or 1,500 earned in commissions by morning, because my morning was like 11, 12. I saw like $200. And I'm like, huh. So what's going on? Go downstairs, get in my computer, log in my Google account, big ass red bar at the top. Your account's banned. That was when Google went and they banned all the affiliates, and we weren't allowed to do it. That was some of my first early success. And what I've seen from what you teach is it's that, but you added one page in the middle. So that, because what Google doesn't want is you using an affiliate link. So you're like, all right, so you do a review page, you send the traffic to the review page, and then it sends it to the affiliate program. At the most rudimentary of basics, did I summarize your model?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's why it's so simple. And that's why, and I'm a big believer, simple makes more money. So it works. I mean, that's why, our students have a lot of success. And so now, yeah, we use, essentially Facebook has been our bread and butter for a long time. And now we've, over the last probably 6 to 8 months, we've introduced YouTube quite a bit, and YouTube has been a really just a monster traffic source. And then now the other thing we've been integrating in terms of like how we actually have success now is was with AI. So now we developed some tools and some things where we can actually like artificially generate like ad images and creatives and copy and all kinds of stuff. And so it's pretty exciting. I mean, this year is like, it's, AI is a big thing right now. Everybody's talking about it, and they should be, because it really is a game changer. And I know like some of the stuff we do now, like that used to require a lot of manual work, is so automated. It's really cool, because I know that, seeing all of my students' success from the past, 4 years or so has been awesome. But, they didn't have access to any of these, AI, tools or software. And so I'm like, man, I can only imagine like how much success is going to happen now with all the advancements in technology,
Dude, speaking of AI, this is too funny. Okay. There are two people in my life that are not marketers, that don't hang around in our communities, that don't, and two of the many people in my life. My mother-in-law, shout out to her, she's awesome, and to my wife, right? They don't. So last night, so my wife has a TEDx license, the TEDx Rockville event, she does it. And so last night she's working on it. She just announced it. We're doing it in July. I don't remember when. But all I know is I have to do a lot of work, but my name's not allowed to be on it because I'm commercial. So I do all the emceeing, I pay for the space, I host the event, but no one can say Onik has anything to do with it. It's my wife's event. I'm a little bitter about that. But she's like showing me stuff. She's like, hey, what do you think about this logo? What do you think about this logo? And I'm like, dude, where are you getting these? Like, that's pretty good. Like, where'd you get this? What are you doing? She's like, oh, I went to ChatGPT and asked it for free sites to make logos on. And I'm like, you use ChatGPT? She's like, yeah. I'm like, that's cool. And she's like, and then I went to this site and I wasn't really liking the logos that it was creating. So I went to ChatGPT and I typed in the theme of our event and said, give me some ideas for what this damn thing, man. It was so cool. Like, I don't want to give away her thing yet, she's not public about it, but she came up with it. Like, with every TEDx event, you have to have like a purpose of it, like a statement, like the theme of the event. And she told ChatGPT, like, hey, what would be some cool logo ideas to represent this theme? And that damn thing came back and gave her ideas, and she took that idea and took it to the other AI thing, put it in there, and that was the logo I loved. It was so perfect. It was so artistic and so like, holy crap. I mean, I don't even know we would have ever reached that ourselves. She did it in like 15 minutes. We were laying in bed before bed. And then this morning, I want to read this message. I get a message from my mother-in-law in India, and she says, hey, just thought this might be helpful for you. Someone built a travel planner using ChatGPT. Enter the city and the number of days, and it gives you an entire itinerary. This is amazing. And my only response to her was, holy crap, you know about ChatGPT? Like, dude, it has hit. I will say this: if my mother-in-law in India, in Mumbai, India, is using ChatGPT, world has changed, ladies and gentlemen. The world has changed. If you don't believe in it, well, it already changed, and I'm doing some cool projects with it too. So I'm glad to hear that you're using AI in your stuff. So now, everyone who's wondering what, where, how, when, learn.com/Robby is when we're going to do a high-level training. And then, Robby, do you have a URL you want to throw out where people will be able to go to get like the nitpicky, the training? And I want to reinstate to everybody, the URL Robby gives you, I got nothing to do with it. No relationship there. I'm just throwing out his community. You get to go join it. What's that URL?
Good question. We'll probably just pop it up on the screen afterwards, I guess, or something. I'll have to ask my team what it is.
All right.
Once again, I'm the pretty face of the business here.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. You go to learn.com/Robby, and what we might do is give you both the URLs, because there's a lot of audio people that won't be able to see the link on the screen. So just go to learn.com/Robby, and we'll do one of those link tree thingies where we say, hey, here's our interview, and here's the one direct to Robby's. And then one more clarification to everybody was the 40 million number, Robby. That wasn't all just through affiliate sales, right? Because you obviously started selling courses. You're selling people the information on how to make money with affiliate marketing. That's included in that 40 million number.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
And what are some other, kind of, I'm going to wrap stuff up. I honestly could talk to you for another hour, dude. I want to respect your time because it's been a fun episode. We, just so everyone knows, Robby and I talked about this episode for 5 minutes beforehand, had no idea what we were going to talk about. And we talked about fast decisions. And I feel like that's such a great, remember, Robby, I was like, hey, I always want our episode, someone, doesn't matter what walk of life they're in, what place, like, I want them to have that one thing that they're like, okay, I can do better. And that's what it is here. It's like, be strategic, be thoughtful, be cautious, be wise. But God, man, I remember once someone told me, once we have about 60 to 70% of the information needed to make a decision, 99, I don't remember the number was, and it was not some statistically valid number. It was like 9 times out of 10, the decision that you will make once you have 90 or 100% of the information would have been the same. But you wasted weeks, if not months of time for nothing, for you would have made the same decision. And I feel like I do function with that in my life. So I wanted to give everybody that thought. Is like, once you have most of the material to make a decision, you're not making the decision because you're just scared and you're looking for an excuse. And the excuse always is, I need more information. No, you don't. You're just scared. And it's okay. Be open and honest with yourself. But Robby, what else are you doing? What are some cool things? Like, all right, so you got courses online. You got the affiliate marketing stuff that you still yourself do. I've seen you even teach your girlfriend how to do it, which is super cool. What are some of the other businesses or things? You don't have to get specific, but like what all pools has Robby dipped his feet into? There you go.
Yeah, great question. I mean, as far as, aside from businesses, I have, I'm partners in a supplement company. I have multiple software companies I'm partners in now. I've, gotten into real estate quite a bit. Not as much recently, kind of waiting, sitting and waiting for the deals to come in here, once the market turns. I mean, cryptocurrency, NFT projects, stock market, investing in other businesses. I've invested in like a big acai franchise. I've been, a healthy candy. I've invested in like just all kinds of different stuff. Just placing little bets, I guess essentially little bets on different companies and things that I know or at least believe can do better. And that's one thing I've really tried to do. And that's been good. One of the things I've been able to do as well is, with the business that I've created, like is the softwares I've partnered in, like they fit into the ecosystem of the business. So it's very easy and very, complementary both ways. I've also helped partner with other people with their courses on a few things as well. So yeah, so I got a lot going on, a lot of different things, which I love. I think it's cool to get to that point where you basically, you have success with your business and you stay focused on your business. And then once you start to generate income and profit, then you distribute that out to other things that can then, work for you as opposed to having, you working for the money. And so that's really kind of what I'm starting to do more of, is just like, just doing more of that. I think it's important though to note, like, you shouldn't do that too soon. If you're starting online, like if, your investment, don't ask me like, hey, should I invest in cryptocurrency or real estate? Like if you haven't got your business up to where it needs to be, like you should be all in on your business. And it kind of goes back to, the example I shared earlier where like, joining the mastermind was like my best decision. And then, losing money on the crypto or on the crypto thing was my worst decision. The difference is that like, because I invested in my business, like I have more control over what happens, right? Like it's my effort and my action, as opposed to if I invest into a, cryptocurrency, for example, like there's a lot of factors that I have literally no control of in terms of the market, in terms of what happens, in terms of the news and the FUD and all kinds of stuff that can happen. And so, really as an entrepreneur, like, stay focused on what you want to do, dial deep into it. And then from there, when you're at a point where you're like, okay, this thing can run without me, then you can start to look at other things. But until then, you gotta stay focused. Yeah, man.
I completely agree with you fully on that. And seriously, my big takeaway is I think I can do better. I can even I can make decisions faster. So I'll get a little sign that says, what would Robby do? What would Robby decide? There you go. What would Robby decide? That will be the line that we will use. Robby, it has been a fascinating episode. Thank you so much for your time and for being here. Everybody, learn.com/Robby. And what we'll do is we'll put a little link tree up there. You can go to the one webinar that I'm going to be hosting him on. We'll be going over at macro level, really what he's doing, the strategy, the arbitrage, what it looks like. He'll show examples. And then if you are ready to get into his community and want to get further into the weeds and into the details, we'll put a link there as well. So you can do both and immerse yourself and get into Robby's community. So Robby, thank you. Last words?
No, I'm just looking forward to the workshop. I think it's going to be awesome. I think if you guys are in a position where you've been, wanting to have more success online or even just starting, I mean, heck, a lot of people, don't even get to the starting line. So if you're there and you watch this and you want to learn, I'm happy to teach you. Like I'm very, very excited and blessed to be in a position where I can teach people. I know what it's like to be on the other side of it. And so, I want to do everything I can to help you guys have success. And so, if doing this workshop with Anik can help you, get the motivation and excitement to make that happen, then I'm all for it. So yeah, so definitely come into the workshop and also have an open mind when you come to the workshop. A lot of times we kind of have, preconceived notions of like, numbers that you can achieve or things you can do or blah, blah, blah. Like just get that out of your head and just learn, just be open to learning. Cause that's, a lot of times we shoot ourselves in the foot when we don't give ourselves enough credit to be open and willing to learn. So, I mean, heck, if I can go from that, that baby blue Buick station wagon to where I am today, then anybody can do it.
Jimmy, make sure we get the pictures of his cars and put it in. I want to see this baby blue station wagon. It's been epic, man. Thank you very much. Remember, everybody, make sure you click subscribe, leave a comment, click thumbs up, spread the message, tell other people, help us get this podcast up the rankings. We're going to be doing some killer stuff with it this year. OnikShow.com if you want to see all the different episodes. All right, OnikPodcast.com if you want to go to our main website where we have every episode that we've ever done in 4 years. And of course, what do I always say? When life pushes you, stand straight, smile, and push it the heck back. Learn.com/Robby. Hit that URL up. We will see you there. And until the next time I talk to you, love you guys. Take care. Stay strong. See you soon. Bye.